All right, hey, I'm Wally Pinkard, and I'm going to be talking about how highways had a not so great effect on many cities in America. While the decline of American cities began before the interstate highway system, highways caused our cities great harm, polluted our environment, and left us with an unsustainable habitation footprint. Historian Mark Geflin has noted that, quote, no federal venture spent more funds in urban areas and returned fewer dividends to central cities than the National Highway Program. Over the last 5 decades, the federal government has spent almost $1 trillion creating a system of national highways, which has shifted the way that Americans live, from something that looked like this 50 years ago to something that looks a little bit more like this today. Our environment and our economy, and even ourselves, are all suffering as a result of the belief that the American dream lives outside of city lines and can only be reached by cars. But it was not always this way. Although cities have always presented challenges, historically they've always been centers of production, living, and culture. The highway program helped redefine the purpose of cities. Under this program, the government transformed cities from dense, vibrant communities to hollow shells housing people who lacked the political or economic power to oppose the government's plans. Early efforts to create a national highway system began under President Eisenhower. He was inspired by Germany's Autobahns to create a network of highways that allowed for rapid troop movements to counter the threat posed by a potential communist invasion. But like most massive government programs, and the National Highway System was the largest public works project ever at its time, the highways served many masters. The highways were used as a tool of economic development, a massive jobs program, for urban renewal, and for political patronage. But the highway program was created with little regard for how it affected urban communities. They were built to transport cars from newly developed suburbs into work centers in the cities. Along the way, highways literally bulldozed whole neighborhoods at the rate of 37,000 units per year. To urban planners, the destructions in neighborhoods was not a problem. It was a solution to urban blight. They thought that tearing down poor, mostly black neighborhoods was a solid redevelopment strategy. Highways provided the reason to get rid of these neighborhoods and the federal funding to do it. As a result, from 1940s onwards, population growth has blossomed in the suburbs, while in city centers, population has stagnated. The haphazard way in which highways carved up cities reduced livability in the cities to the point where middle-class families left in droves. This led to skyrocketing urban poverty, along with a host of accompanying problems like crime, blight, and failing schools. By the year 2000, urban population density is just a third of what it was in 1950. Aided by highways, the middle-class exodus caused Rust Belt cities like Baltimore to lose hundreds of thousands of residents. And while Baltimore suffered greatly during this period, massive opposition from neighborhood groups spared us the worst outcomes from coming to fruition. The plan in Baltimore called for the obliteration of many of our neighborhoods, but the actual destruction ended with a highway to nowhere in West Baltimore. Since its inception, the interstate highway system has been subsidized by over $400 billion. The new ICC costs around $130 million per mile, while the Big Dig in Boston was $10 billion over budget. Thus, the only way to make highways seem like a good investment is to spread the costs across the entire population. In most cases, tolls were banned from the highway system, in effect decoupling the cost of highways from their usage. This made highway driving affordable, which helped give rise to suburban culture. This culture involved long commutes, traffic jams, single-family homes, and the ubiquitous white picket fence. Suburban living also played a major role in propping up the economy by stimulating demand for cars, lawnmowers, and other durable goods to fill up these new large houses. The economic boom and the plentiful jobs and cheap energy helped fuel the expansion of the middle class along with the suburbs. Unfortunately, affordability in the suburbs has dropped dramatically in recent years due to the increasingly high cost of energy and transportation and the loss of the middle-class jobs that had fueled the earlier growth. As a result, suburban poverty has risen by 53% in the last decade. The cost of governments are also daunting. Local governments have to maintain roads and services over a vast geographic area. For example, in Maryland this year, we had no snow, and we still spent almost all of our $36 million snow removal budget. Highways also have a devastating effect on the environment. Beyond promoting the inefficient use of cars and the burning of fossil fuels, highways encourage overdevelopment, which causes a ton of problems, particularly for the Bay region. One of which is the growth of impermeable surfaces, which cause stormwater runoff, which is a key contributor to Bay pollution. Another are septic systems. Because a lot of these developments are far away from water infrastructure, they have to rely on septic systems. Unfortunately, septic systems release nitrogen into the ground, which eventually makes its way into the bay, causing algae blooms, which suck oxygen from the water, killing aquatic life. Moving forward, cities are looking for solutions that value multimodal transit over large highways that serve as vehicles at the expense of the pedestrian experience. Cities are tearing down highways and replacing them with urban greenways or boulevards. There is a renewed interest in urban living that we can harness to provide an economic, environmental, and socially sustainable future for our country. Sustainability is not just about sustainability is about building communities, not bulldozing them. It's about engaging communities and not dictating terms to them. It is time to leverage all the advantages that cities have to offer and once again create vibrant urban communities. Thank you.